Hi, my name's Craig. I'm just a BMW enthusiast, do-it-yourselfer like most of you. If you're watching this video, it's because you are likely having issues with your emergency brake cable getting stuck in the subframe of your e46. And I recently had this problem. I tried finding some videos to see if this issue was addressed, and I couldn't find anything. So I figured I'd try to make one. So I'm going to do my best to try to keep this pretty quick and to the point. Here we have a 2001 BMW 330 Ci. It's got about 160,000 miles on the car. It spent most of its life in the salt air on the New England coast. I've had the car for about a year and a half now, and I've done some various repairs. And recently I got to a point where I had to replace the rear trailing arm. Because it was bent and it was causing some excessive tire wear. So I ended up picking up another rear trailing arm, and I started pulling everything apart, and I ran into an issue where the emergency brake cable was stuck on the back side of the rear trailing arm. As you can see, what's left of it right here. It just enters there and comes out and connects to the emergency brake shoes and, you know, the springs and the adjuster and whatnot. So normally that just pushes out. You either can pull the cable from the rear or you can push it out from the front side. But as you can see, with all this rust and corrosion here, basically once I started pulling on that cable, the cable started to come apart like this, and I don't know if you've ever seen this before, but the black part is the plastic outer sleeve, and over time that's gotten brittle, and it basically ended up separating and pulling. So I basically decided to go and cut it off there so that I could actually remove this rear trailing arm and axle assembly. Actually, the axle's still in there too because, again, because of all the rust, I wasn't able to get it out with lots of PB blaster, soaking for a couple of days, and a slide hammer, and it just was not coming undone, so I just decided to pull out the whole assembly with the axle. I'm replacing that with a newer rear trailing arm here. So basically I've got that all ready to go. I put a new wheel bearing in there. I've also put upper and lower cross axis joints in, and I also put some PowerFlex rear trailing arm bushings in. So this is likely ready to go. I think I'm going to actually end up having to get a new axle. But anyway, back to the emergency brake cable. The fact that I had to cut that means that I needed to actually replace the emergency brake cable. So I actually happened to receive a full cable with this rear trailing arm. So I decided I'll just go ahead and replace that. So I did some research online, and I found a video, I think it was by Hans Garage. He replaced both the cables, and I watched it, and looked pretty straightforward. He basically had to lower the exhaust. You can see I have my exhaust lowered here, and then the heat shield needs to be kind of moved out of the way so you can access where the cable runs alongside the drive shaft. So when I did all of that, I started to try to remove the rest of the cable, and I realized I actually had quite some difficulty pulling it out from underneath the car where it enters up into the cabin of the car where the e-brake handle is. But after a little bit and some pulling and use of pliers and swearing, I managed to get that end of it out, which basically just left the last section
where the e-brake cable passes through the subframe. And I'm going to try to show you as best as I can here. But basically, the cable slides right through this little passage. It's like a 4 or 5 inch section, and you know, as you can see, just 18 years of salt air has not been kind to the rear subframe here. I don't necessarily notice any cracks or anything, but I don't know, I think its time might be limited. But anyway, as I was pulling the cable out, or continuing to try to pull it out, the cable continued to kind of do this, and I kept pulling and pulling and pulling the cable, and basically I got all of the cable out, but this part here was basically jammed from the back side of that opening that I showed you. So I had to kind of fish this out, and then pretty much come over to this point where I said, okay, I think I got the hole ready. I'm going to try to put the new cable in. Well, I take the cable, and you can see the cable has these little ends here, which actually make the diameter a little bit larger than the actual cable itself. So when I went to try to install the cable and put it in, it basically was getting stuck. Like, it was, no matter what I did, I tried to, you know, get it through, and it wasn't going in. So I figured, okay, you know, I need to try to clear out that hole as best as I can, because it's rusted, it's corroded. I was thinking if I had a 3/4 inch pipe cleaner, maybe something like this, but longer, I could kind of ream it out and see if that helped. But I didn't have any of that. So basically I found some sandpaper in my garage, and I ended up just kind of attaching it to the end of the cable here like this, and I basically went into the hole, and I basically just kind of stuck it in, and more or less just kind of reamed it out as best as I could. Did that quite a bit, and then I tried to, kept trying the cable, and it still didn't really help. But I'm pretty sure that, reaming out that hole there was helping. But I think at this point, the limiting factor, because of all the corrosion buildup, is that the inside diameter is a little bit smaller. So what I ended up doing, actually this isn't the end, it's the other end here. What I ended up doing is taking that sandpaper and more or less just kind of sanding down this outer part just a little bit, not entirely. You can still see it has a lip on it, like it should. But I probably took, maybe a couple thousandths off of it, just kind of sanding around it. And I did that a couple of times, and basically I got it to a point where it looked like it wanted to pass through. So I just put a little bit of grease on there, and decided that I was going to put it in and basically see if it fits. So, and it did, and I'm going to try to show you that right now. See, now basically I've passed all the way through that section that I was trying to get to. So that's pretty much the gist of what I wanted to kind of pass along. I definitely, when I got to that point where the cable was stuck and it was kind of coming out like this, that took quite a bit of time for me to kind of pull that out. It did not pull out very easily, and I'm really not sure if there was anything more I could do, just based on the condition of the subframe and how it was stuck in there. So I'm not sure if anyone else will run into this issue, but I just figured this was kind of something I wanted to pass along to others in hopes that maybe it might help someone else who who thinks they might have gotten in a little too far over their head, and not sure what to do about getting that new cable to go back in. So, like I said, hopefully this helps you, and if it did, great. If not, oh well. Thanks.